any idea where that's been?
Up your butt?
All right. Let's do this. Devil May Cry 5 is one of the most disappointing AAA releases I've ever played. Its playtime is short, its level design is simple, its difficulty is easy. Its platforming is basic, its story is appalling, its characters are embarrassing and one-dimensional, and smashed in the middle of it all is one of the most hands-down, ridiculously imaginative and entertaining fighting systems I've ever played. 3 of them. How and why this game exists in the ways that it does remains a mystery to me. But right off the bat, I have a couple questions. Why didn't they make a game with just Dante? Why does the game have 3 playable characters? Why is Griffin not annoying? Why is Nico so annoying? Why do I have to fight the same Urizen battle 3 times? Is this the compromise I have to make because they didn't include a boss rush in this game? Wait a minute. Why does Urizen look so bored? If Urizen doesn't care, why should I care? Why does Urizen's final form look like Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers? Is it because Johnny Young Bosch was in Power Rangers? Is it because Ruben Langdon was in Power Rangers?
Get lost.
Is it because Daniel Southworth was in Power Rangers? Why can't I fight Urizen instead of this stupid rock candy swizzle stick? Where's Morrison been? Why is Morrison back? Why is Morrison black? Why does Yamato have the power to separate man from devil now? Why hasn't getting stabbed with Yamato separated Dante's human and devil halves? Why hasn't getting stabbed with Rebellion activated Dante's Sin Devil trigger before? What is his Sin Devil trigger? And why is it stronger than Urizen's plot fruit? If Dante's Sin trigger is stronger than Urizen's plot fruit, why didn't Virgil stab himself with Rebellion instead? Virgil has a Sin Devil trigger form at the end anyway. How? Are they just making this shit up as they go along? Where the fuck is Dante's amulet? Do we not talk about the amulet anymore? Why is blood now the source of Demon's power? Does anyone care that Virgil killed an entire city? Is Dante just aloof or does he have no idea what's going on? If the van is indestructible, why don't they just stay there? Also, why doesn't Lady ever leave the van? When did Lady get her clothes back? Why is she wearing a jumpsuit if they had her real clothes? Where do Trish's clothes come from? Where do V's clothes come from? Why does Lady look so young? Why does Dante look so old? Since when does Lady take orders from Nero? Why is she so boring? Why is she such a bitch? Why didn't Dante ever tell Nero that Virgil was his father? Why didn't he ever tell Virgil that Eva loved him? Why would Eva put Dante in a closet in a house that's on fire and then tell him to change his name and start a new life? Did she know she was about to be crushed off screen by a wooden beam for no reason? Why is Virgil so stupid? Why is fighting Dante all he cares about now? Is the only reason Dante and Virgil can't stop fighting so that Nero can have that big moment at the end where he says stop fighting and then proceeds to fight both of them to stop them from the initial fighting? Why does Virgil say that he doesn't care about his son when fighting Dante, but then immediately tells Dante,
Nero is my son. Yeah, dumbass.
why is Virgil alive? Why does Dante decide to stay in the underworld? Why do Dante and Virgil walk away to cut down the clip floff like it was their plan all along, even though they've never talked about it before? If all they had to do was sever the clip clop roots, why did we waste so much time fighting Urizen? If Nero's never seen Virgil before, why does he wear a hood to hide his identity? At the very least, Nero would think that it was Dante, but wouldn't that help Virgil ambush him? Is Nero's arm his arm, or is Yamato his arm? Nero's absorbed a lot of stuff before, so why does it specifically turn into Yamato and not all the other stuff? Why doesn't V tell anyone that he's Virgil? Or did he tell Dante? If Dante did know that Urizen was Virgil, why doesn't he tell Trish or Lady? Why doesn't anyone in this game communicate vital information to each other? Why is Dante's business failing? Why isn't Trish at the Devil May Cry anymore? Is it because Dante sucks at everything now? Why does Dante fail to stop something easily preventable from happening long enough to dramatically run to stop it, even though it's already happening? Like 3 times?
Damn it.
Why is Dante so dumb? Why did they move DMC4 to after DMC2? Last we saw Dante in DMC2, he was on a motorcycle. Why tease Dante's return on a motorcycle if it wasn't because he escaped the demon world? Did they just build a motorcycle weapon into the game and only realize that fans thought it was after DMC2 after the fact and then say, oops, actually DMC4 is after DMC2 now because they forgot? If Dante hasn't been trapped in the underworld all this time, why does he look so crappy? Why is fighting Dante all he cares about now? Why is fighting Dante the only reason Dante and Virgil can't stop fighting so that Dante... Okay, look. A lot of my frustration really does come from a place of love, but along with my OCD desire for everything to make sense, what really makes DMC5 such an obsessive head-scratcher for me is discovering how little effort almost every aspect of this game seems to have had outside of the graphics and the fighting engine. For a game that I was hoping would really knock my socks off and prove me wrong, the end result is kind of insulting.
We simply aren't operating on the level of mutual respect, I assume.
No, I guess not.
But of all things, why Devil May Cry 5? Is some silly hack and slash game really deserving of my fastidious criticism? At this point, like most people who don't like confrontation, one could say that it's just a video game. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Or even, isn't it great how Devil May Cry 5 doesn't take itself seriously? These arguments don't make sense to me. They are encouraging people to stop thinking and stop asking questions. I know that a lot of people don't have a problem with that. And I'm not making fun of those people either. What I am saying is that in order for me to enjoy something, it has to make sense first. Bingo! If it's dumb schlock, it's dumb schlock. If it's genre defining, call it genre defining. But if it starts out as genre defining and turns into dumb schlock, that doesn't mean I'm taking it too seriously. It means that it sucks now. Most people online have been too afraid to say anything that remotely resembles an opinion like this. But if you've seen the comments section on any of my Devil May Cry videos, you can see that I do not have this problem. But I am confused why everyone else does. My first video was even blocked by the Devil May Cry community on Reddit for being too inflammatory, only for them to post it themselves months later to make fun of it. They just didn't want my voice as part of the discussion. Now, come on guys. If we really can't talk civilly about a video game online, then Tipper Gore's already won. So thanks for the views, and no, I'm not making any money off of these videos. I do these videos because I hate myself. Almost as much as Devil May Cry 5. So let's talk about the bad. This compliment sandwich has no top slice of bread, and it starts in the soggy middle with the story. Devil May Cry 5 has one of the worst stories I've ever seen. Especially for a game that's supposed to wrap up the entire series, there is so much wasted potential here. Now there's a lot to unpack about how crazy Devil May Cry 5's story is, but let's try to take it a bite at a time. If you're preparing to end any multi-part series, you need to tie up all of the previous installments in a way that rewards the player for their time and loyalty, and doesn't treat them like a dumb child waiting by the stove to lick the spoon. That means all of the storylines, plot holes, and the rules of your universe need to work together. We need rules, because rules provide context. Without rules, we don't understand how or why something is happening. Some would call this world building. Unfortunately for Devil May Cry 5, literally everything that happens in this story either openly contradicts something else from another game, retcons it past the point of making any kind of sense, or just straight up ignores it. This is not world building. This is world destroying. If you want to spot when the game is trying to ignore something that it doesn't want to explain, look for Dante to say something dumb to redirect the conversation.
Yeah, well, that's a lovely story and all, but as long as we know where to find him. As much as I'd love to hear that story. Dante, wait! I'm not done talking yet.
Dante, that demon is...
As we all know, Devil May Cry is full of plot holes and bad writing. But when utilized correctly, bad writing can offer opportunities to make some really cool connections and strengthen the overall story. Amy Hennig's work on Legacy of Kain is a great example, and Full Fat Videos has a great video essay on how the Russo brothers fixed Tony Stark's character arc in Captain America Civil War. Devil May Cry 5 would crush its world building if it didn't use it to do dumb shit like adding a bunch of nonsense powers to Yamato that it never had in the first place. The key is to cover up plot holes, not make more. All it takes is 2 seconds thinking about it. For example, in the original timeline, Virgil was too young to have fathered a child. Maybe instead of creating a whole new character to be Virgil's human half, wouldn't it make more sense if it was Nero instead? That fixes everything and makes more sense. Or what's up with Devil May Cry 4 and 2 having the exact same cookie-cutter villain? Why not retcon it so that they're both Argosax? And look at that! We have a new series antagonist. After Argosax failed to cross over with Sanctus, Dante heads over to Vito Marley to stop Argosax once and for all. And do we just fix Devil May Cry 2? The possessed Sanctus form even looks like the despair embodied anyway. Man, what else could we fix? Okay, no more swords opening portals to the underworld. That's getting annoying. The amulet worked for Devil May Cry 1 and 3, it can work for a Devil May Cry 5. Or at least, like, unmake it or something cool. It's the last thing Dante has from his mom, so letting that go would be like a cool character moment, and we can close that plot hole forever. Damn, I'm good. Oh yeah, and Dante's trapped in the underworld after Devil May Cry 2? Man, that's awesome. I heard that the most powerful demons are having a civil war right now. What would Dante do in that kind of situation? What would the characters do without Dante in the human world? Nero, Trish, and Lady would all team up. Man, that would be a great place to start a game. These are some awesome ideas. All right, so what did they end up doing for 5? Oh wait, they switched the chronology around? Oh, well, that's okay. There's still plenty of new ground they can cover. Oh, a demon invasion. I thought Nero and Dante were protecting the human world. How could they let this happen? Oh, Dante and Nero are there. All right. I mean, it'd make more sense if demons were taking over because Dante was trapped in the underworld and couldn't do anything to stop it, but whatever. Better late than never. Oh, a demon tree. That's kind of Tim and Agru, but it's not like this is Virgil or anything. Let's do this. Oh, so wait, this guy's the Demon King. Who decided he was king? The Civil War is over? Damn, this is serious. Oh, they're not worried about it? Oh, should I be worried about it? Oh shit, he just kicked Dante's ass. Are Lady and Trish okay? Oh, Nero doesn't really care? Oh, he's happy. Oh, okay. This is weird. All right, you're going down. Oh, wait, I don't have any of my old moves anymore? Oh, I have to buy my old moves again. Okay. Well, and this boss battle doesn't seem very fair. Oh, so he's just gonna sit there? I just gotta hit this rock candy thing? Holy shit, so this is like the end of the world then. Damn, this is crazy. This shit cannot wait. And they just all left. For a month. They left him alone for a month? What the hell is going on? Wait a minute. Urizen is Virgil, isn't he? Are they doing Devil May Cry 3 again? They're doing Devil May Cry 3 again. Wait, but... Oh no. It's the reboot, isn't it? What's going on? No! Oh my god! Oh my god! So now that we have the setting down, the world building is a mess, but what actually happens in Devil May Cry 5? Honestly, almost nothing. Even though I make fun of it, the whole beginning chapter of the game is actually my favorite part. It throws you right in the middle of the action, and at least sets up some decent stakes, but without any kind of follow through with the rest of the game, it falls flat almost immediately, which kind of sucks. Taking out Dante, Trish, and Lady, and Rebellion at the same time is kind of a bold move, but the game doesn't really treat it as anything to worry about. It's so much of a non-issue that they wait an entire month before going back. Supposedly so that Nico can make Nero's breaker arms, but why write in such an inconvenient time gap when the breaker arms don't even make that big a difference in Nero's power level in the first place? And I guess the government didn't bomb the city? Is there a government?
In light of this incident, the government...
I'm giving world building another wrist slap. So plot-wise, you spend the beginning levels putzing around, no rush. You basically run into bosses on occasion, 2 of which happen to have Lady and Trish inside for LULZ, I guess. Sometimes you're V, sometimes you're Nero, sometimes you're Dante, sometimes you're supposed to be fighting a quipod route or walking through a graveyard. It doesn't really feel like you're supposed to be anywhere, which kind of makes it hard to tell if your adventure is successful at any given point. So you pretty much just run around until it's time to fight Urizen. You fight him like 14 times, and that's the whole game. Wait, what? Hold on. Something else has got to happen in this game. Let's see. They go to fight Urizen, they lose. They fight him again, he's Virgil. Dante fights Virgil, but that's bad. Nero fights Virgil anyway, he wins. They turn into butterflies, and they fly away. The end. Wow, that's it. In earnest, I couldn't recognize anyone. All the characters look amazing, the graphics are easily the best I've ever seen, but the heart and soul of these characters is not there. Okay, here we go. Besides Trish and Lady, really, this game doesn't fuck anyone as hard as it does Lady. Nero, comes out really flat in this one. And I'm not just talking about his weird square jaw. As a character, it feels like he's taken a couple of steps backwards. He's kind of petty and arrogant. Maybe it's just brought out more because he only has Nico to talk to, but he's still stuck inside that little brother complex. Like Dante kind of offhandedly calls him dead weight in the intro, and Nero hangs on to it for like the entire rest of the game. Like even in the final confrontation, Nero throws that line back at him for like the 4th time. Dante probably doesn't even remember. He's like, what the fuck is Nero talking about?
Bastard, call me deadweight! Oh, let you call me deadweight again? No thanks. Let me guess, I'm deadweight? I'll show you deadweight.
What doesn't work for Nero for me is that in Devil May Cry 4, he seemed to be this kind, thoughtful, angry kid. There's a lot of emotion going on with Nero, and a lot of heart. But now he's just kind of flattened out into a stock hero with a bad attitude archetype that's honestly not as interesting to me. It also doesn't help that Devil May Cry 5 makes Nero really unlikable. Innocents and bystanders are getting harpooned by praying mantises and shit, and Nero is still pissed off about that dead weight thing. Okay, to be fair, V kind of holds him back, but Nero's just so whatever about saving innocent lives in this one. He makes fun of wounded soldiers.
You look like you need a hug, but you're not gonna get one from me.
He tramples through the dried husks of men, women, and children. He doesn't care if Dante's alive or dead.
If Dante's alive, we'll save him. If not, we don't.
The game just does not showcase what makes Nero such a compelling character. He's dumbed down, and it really skews what the game is supposed to be about. It's pretty clear that Nero is favored as the main character over Dante, again. But when you look to Nero for the game's message, I keep thinking, what's his arc? What is Nero's story? He started the game wanting to protect people and ends the game still wanting to protect people. I see a lot of praise for the "I'm not letting you die" scene at the end, but for me, that's the biggest example of how little they could do with the character. The line is so forced and comes completely out of nowhere, like they just needed something singular for him to say to make all the themes come together. But where it worked in Devil May Cry 3 with Screaming Souls, and Devil May Cry 1 with Devils Never Cry, here it just feels hollow. I mean, hey, if he's not screaming Kyrie's name, is he even really Nero? Come on.
Kyrie, get back inside now!
I will say that Morrison is fine. A Morrison character who's known Dante since he was young is a really welcome addition to the canon, but he doesn't seem to have any kind of substantive relationship with Dante, and his presence doesn't elucidate anything about the character that we don't already know. The only reason he seems to be in the game is to tease a DLC that may never happen, and to call my two beautiful ladies a couple of crazy bitches. For real, like, I legitimately thought I was gonna get in trouble for calling them pizza sluts in my first video, but apparently I was just ahead of the fucking game, which, alright, we're gonna talk about Lady and Trish now. Notice that I can put these two in the same title? These are not two separate characters. These are two carbon copy, bimbo-ass pizza slut bitches that spend the entire game naked, covered in goo, or running away. I told you they were gonna do this to them. I just didn't think it'd be this bad. These are not strong women. These are not intelligent or interesting women. These are the worst possible versions of these characters. Trish at the very least pretends to be important by reciting exposition that V has already told her because she's dumb and doesn't know anything anyway, but oh my god, what they do to Lady in this game. Now, I'm not trying to tout any kind of feminist agenda here, which is annoying that I have to preface that, but every single last one of Devil May Cry 5's women characters suck. Except maybe Malphas. They're either bending over, getting pushed off screen like poor Kyrie, or given a fate worse than death, abandoned. In the new Devil May Cry light novel, like my thick babe Lucia, we finally found you, and I'm so sorry. Nico. I really tried with Nico. Nico is annoying the whole time. I don't understand people that defend this character. She's terrible and makes me so mad. She's kind of like that annoying friend in high school who embarrasses you in front of your cool friends, but like ramped up to 11. She ruins every scene she's in and finds the rudest, most childish way to communicate every line.
You know I got you covered, asshole.
Yeah. Keep your panties on.
Will you stop it? Look at you. You're nobody.
Why don't you
Nobody's
cry on my
crying, all
shoulder?
right?
And, all right, I'm just gonna dive into this one. Is she banging Nero? Like, they tried to play off this coy lesbian thing, but I don't buy it. They're always hanging out in the van as she bends over to pick up a new hand. Like, there's no way something's not happening here. Is she in love with him? Like, these aren't bad questions. If Nero was doing the same shit, I'd be calling him out too. But maybe I'm wrong. Could be that he's already taken care of business all on his own.
Catch my meaning?
Okay, before we keep going, I'm just gonna use this one scene as my case study for everything that's wrong with the way DMC5 treats its characters. I mean, as for bringing everyone together, this has got to be the most embarrassing sequence I've ever seen in a game. It's just a symphony of bad. For context, Dante has just found his childhood home and inexplicably received his sin powers, but we haven't had the time to process this yet because he jumps immediately into a cutscene to kick Urizen's ass, only to let him get away because Dante's bad at doing things. Back at the van, which is somehow inside the tree, Dante finally reunites with his friends. Dante hasn't seen Lady since the Urizen battle, where they all probably thought each other were dead.
Trish, she was captured. I remember that. But I don't know what happened to Dante.
Nero probably has a lot of questions about Dante's unexplained powers and that he's alive still. Dante and Trish, at the very least, both understand that Urizen is actually Virgil, but no one says anything about it. And it can't just be to keep it from Nero. Or maybe they actually don't know. When Dante drops the worst line in the game and says, quote, "My dumbass brother's back, and I'm gonna rip him a new one," Trish's immediate reaction is,
Virgil's how?
So, does anyone know what's going on? Does Dante know?
Never would have guessed you'd come back. Damn it, V. Was it your plan all along?
So there's no reunion, there's no, oh my god, we're all still alive. There's no sharing of crucial information that they may or may not even know. The scene starts with Lady, who finally gets out of the van and walks right off screen past Dante
I'm just gonna double check.
to double check on nothing, because everyone's already there. Trish reveals what the plot fruit is and that the tree is actually upside down, but no one cares, and she still doesn't actually know anything because V is the one who told her and didn't tell anyone else previously because I guess he's afraid of public speaking. Dante grabs his balls 7 times, makes Nero feel insecure, and then like a bad horror movie, everyone runs away to cover more ground because Dante let Urizen get away in the first place. Is this really the same game that everyone is saying is the best in the series? This is embarrassing as hell and makes no sense. There is one good scene where Dante finally tells Nero that Virgil is his father, but it's completely undercut by the fact that, like, shouldn't this conversation have happened already at some point? And then later in the van, everyone's like, Virgil's your father? Well, I guess that makes sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Like, didn't anyone have an actual conversation about this at any point since the last game? At all? And then they're off to stop Virgil. And actually, this is a great scene here where Lady, Trish, and Nico all look around and say 3 different versions of the exact same thing.
What? What's happening now?
Oh god, I thought it was over. This isn't good.
There is no characterization here at all. Everyone is interchangeable, and I don't give a damn about anyone. Dante tells them to all fuck off, and they do, because there's no reason anyone is in this game in the first place. And then there's Dante. He's a wreck. He's worse than a wreck. He's a wreck not because he was stuck in the underworld, not because he has some overwhelming trauma. They kind of Thored him. They Luked him. They decided to make Dante the most childish possible version of the character to make room for someone else to take over the series. And it sucks. This Dante is not a leader. He's not intelligent at all.
It's been a while since I used my brain this much.
He's pushed away all of the ladies in his life. His business is failing. He lets Morrison treat him like a child because he is one. He spends most of his time sitting alone in the dark because he can't pay his bills. This Dante is a bum. He's washed up, he's useless, and he's waiting to die. He doesn't tell other characters crucial bits of information. It's dubious whether or not he actually understands this information, and he bungles almost everything he does, even though he's given plenty of time and opportunity to do things right. The entire game is apparently his fault anyway, because he forgot to tell Virgil that his mom loved him. The only thing this Dante can do, the only thing he's good at, is pulling off sick-ass moves and running over goats and lizards with his motorcycle. There is no life in this character anymore. Also, his new sword looks like an artichoke. I hate it. I hope this is the last time I have to see him, because to see Dante like this is worse than seeing Dante like this. I'm just so disappointed with how Itsuno sees the character that now I only hope that he can finally let Dante rest in an eternity of pointless battle against his even stupider evil twin, because they done took the one thing that I thought was impossible to take from this character. They made Dante not cool. V is my favorite character in the game. He's also one of the worst characters in the game, but given the amount of relevance he has in the plot, he's the only one that I ended up caring about at all. There's something so cool about his calm demeanor.
Pardon my delay. I was catching up on some reading.
In one scene, when Nico scares him off by yakking about her life when no one asked, I immediately related to him. Get out of there, man. V has what I've come to call Kylo syndrome. When you're the only character in a crappy story that has any kind of mobility, you're instantly the most exciting thing about that story. And what do you know? He kind of looks exactly like Kylo anyway. Another thing that I really liked about the character was this idea that he's dying the whole time. You stop moving with him and Kylo immediately goes to lean on his cane. It's a little thing, but it made me invest that much more when I was playing as him. I really wanted to get Kylo to the next area and keep pushing him forward. In a way, it reminded me of Raziel in Soul Reaver. As a wraith from the spirit world existing in the material plane constantly drains your health. So whenever you're playing as him, you have this great sense of urgency that really keeps you in the moment. Walking around with V in general is awesome too. When he runs, he hops on top of Shadow like a skateboard and kind of surfs around. Like, this guy's got some style. And then when he walks, he kind of lurks around and is really mysterious and tragic. He's hands down the best part of the game, and I'm honestly glad he exists at all. He should have just gotten his own IP separate from this mess of a game. Which is funny, because Virgil, on the other hand, is so annoyingly bad that I'm not even going to give him his own section. So instead, I'll just give kudos to DMC5's real Daniel Southworth role, and it's actually Griffin.
You and I like to exist, so get rid of those demons quick, cause killing them ain't my stick. I got your back, cause dying is whack.
I thought he was going to be like really annoying, but he's actually really funny.
I've never seen him before, not in the underworld anyway.
In that respect, he's a lot closer to DMC4 Dante than actual Dante in this game. None of his one-liners make you laugh, but he's funny anyway.
Have you lost your mind? There's a demon to destroy. Kill yourself later. I'll help.
He's over the top, but you kind of like having him around. Why didn't they do that with Nico? I think that at the end of the day, the worst thing DMC5 does is act like Dante and Virgil's struggle has just been these two idiots bickering for no reason, and that Nero's the one who finally puts a stop to it. Up until this game, Virgil was evil. Even in this game, he kills thousands of people. Dante, on the other hand, is a hero who puts a stop to Virgil's plans at great personal cost, time and time again. Framing the story as anything less is simply not consistent with the rest of the series. Lowering Dante and Virgil does not raise up Nero. It makes them all look like idiots. And I wish they understood this about the story and the characters, because they did exactly what I said they would. The exact same thing they've been doing over and over again since 2001. That's right, all of you guys got punked into basically playing the DMC reboot all over again. With better graphics. Cue the dance music.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Foolish.
You looking for a fight?
What? No chit-chat or monologue?
each other a long time. You never had this much trouble. You gonna make it through this, Dante?
Quite frankly, at first, I didn't give a damn. But because of you, I know what's important now. I know what I need to do.
Whatever. I don't really care. I'm just gonna sit this one out.
Now, we've talked a lot about what it's like experiencing the story and its characters. But what is it like to actually play through Devil May Cry 5? I've said before that the game is short, and we've already covered that the story is minimal, but where this affects the game the most is actually in the level design. Because the game wants certain things to happen at certain times, or for you to be playing specific characters for specific moments, the game suffers horribly from lack of consistency in tone and plot from level to level. Just when you start finding your groove with Nero, you're jumped over to V. And before you really start to dig into V, you're Nero again. And then you're V, you're Nero, you're V, Nero, V, Dante, Vero, Nero, Zero, V, Dante, Dante, Nero, Z, V, Dante, Gary V.
I fucking found a dumpster.
Now it's a month ago. Now it's 2 months ago. You're in the city. You're in the forest. You're in a harbor. You're underground. You're in the library. You're in a tree. You're in a tree. You're in a tree. You're in a tree. You're covered in blood. You're in a tree. Now it's a month ago. Yay, now you're V again. Just kidding. Now V's dead. Virgil. End credits fight. End credits fight. End credits fight. End credits fight. Now you're back in the tree. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but playing DMC5 is literally like a much more boring version of that. You leapfrog from character to location to boss fight, and you never really feel at home with the game. By the time Dante shows up for his first mission, you've essentially played through two sort of beginnings of a story with Nero and V, but the game is already half over. Of the game's 21 missions, missions 6, 17, 19, and 20 are all one-and-done boss battles with no traversal. To make things worse, missions 19 and 20 are both against Virgil in the exact same area. Missions 14, 15, and 16 all stall the story's progress within the same stretch of time. 3 missions repeat the same Year's End boss battle, with a 4th variation in Mission 17. Mission 14 is a boss rush, and only 8 missions in total take place in new environments, some of which we never see in the game again. What that means is that the rest of the game's 13 missions are recycled bits of those 8 unique ones for maybe 15 hours of gameplay, tops. Thanks to DSO Gaming for crunching the numbers. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem. I can think of tons of games where the entire story takes place in one similar environment, but where DMC5 loses me is that it never ties any of these places together. The environments are not guided by the story, so there's never an actual reason for you to be anywhere that you end up, which is really too bad. Some of these environments look really good, but keeping in mind the lower difficulty, excess of gold orbs, and the narrow A to B structure of the level design, you get the distinct impression that the game wants to funnel you to the end as quickly as possible, so you end up blowing through each area without really caring why. Even if you did take your time with it though, there's really nothing to explore anyway. You're better off carving a straight line to the end. The game kind of crosses its fingers that you won't find this boring, which is probably why it throws a new environment at you every mission. But don't worry, by the time you get to the tree, it's monotonous flesh walls for the rest of the game. You're welcome.
Remember you once asked me how a bullet comes out of a gun?
I'd say overall, it's pretty clear that they wanted to lower the bar of entry for new players, but boy oh boy is Devil May Cry 5 catered to that new player demographic. If the game is too hard, you have 1,000,000 gold orbs, the game is easy and you'll never die. If the game is too boring, you have 3 different characters, 1,000,000 weapons, the scenario changes every level, the game is easy and you'll never die. But without the threat of a punishing death, or the reward of a compelling story, playing through Devil May Cry 5 for me was hell, and not the good kind. For returning franchise gamers, it almost feels like you're being encouraged to just blow through the game really quick so you can get to that second, harder playthrough. But then what's the point of enjoying the game in the first place? Honestly, it's the best fighting engine I've ever played. hands down. It's probably the best the series will ever get. The combat is so fantastic, so deep, and so intuitive that it almost makes up for the colossal disappointment that is every other aspect of this game. But it's a fact that I'm worried will fly past all of those first-time players, because after spending hours in Bloody Palace and the Void, I've realized just how badly the actual game sets you up for failure. With the lower difficulty and constant character switching, you never get good at anyone's fighting engines. And what's worse is that with a piggy bank full of gold orbs, you never have to get good to beat the game. The only people who are actually going to return to Devil May Cry 5 after beating it are series veterans or people who already like fighting games. But if you never seek it out, or no one ever tells you, you'll never know. I can make peace with the fact that Itsuno did not care about telling a good story. Sort of, by which I mean never. But I am here to tell you, if you don't take the time to learn this combat engine, you are wasting your time playing this game. In fact, the only reason to buy this game, I think, is to play through Bloody Palace. In Bloody Palace, there are no gold orbs, and with the insane revolving door of enemies, you are constantly facing new challenges and discovering new ways to play these characters. And when you die, you die. There's actually stakes. And if you find things getting too tough, you can actually replay any level you want for practice. It's so great. It's so satisfying. It's better than the game. Of the three engines, Dante's is clearly the best and always will be. I'm perfectly functional at Dante and style switching by myself, but seeing these videos online of other players just fucking annihilating this game, it's given me such an appreciation for what they've created here. Second up is Nero, for the only reason that I think the breaker system isn't as deep as Dante's style switching. But that's okay. They've essentially retained everything about his moves from Devil May Cry 4, and then added an actual devil trigger with a ton more vertical combat. One of my favorite new moves is Payline. Oh, what a beaut. And how fun is it to launch a fucking rocket arm and then ride it around? Like, there's some crazy stuff you can do in this game, and that's just the entry level. The real moves are freaking credible. V's combat rounds out the bunch and gets points for just straight up trying to be different. You feel cool and collected watching V pace the battleground, which actually the only thing you feel is excruciating pain as you mercilessly mash triangle and box for the entire fight, which actually kind of makes V's fighting suck a lot. But it's still super satisfying somehow. I'm not sure why. I just love floating around with Griffin or appearing in midair above someone for a kill strike. It's really fun to play, but you'll end up basically button mashing the whole time no matter what. It's just kind of how it is. Other than that, I love the menu. I always thought it'd be cool to have a version of this in Dante's office, but I guess I'll just split the difference with Nico's sex dungeon motorhome. I still hate Devil Trigger like so much, but I was surprised that the ancillary background music during the game is actually pretty good. I especially like bopping around to the menu themes and really appreciate the files and bonus content, even though it's all written in Nico's voice. But that about does it. We're finally at the end of the journey, at long last. So, what are my final thoughts on Devil May Cry 5? Devil May Cry 5 is a disaster. The campaign is a total cluster, which gets in the way of how much fun it is to actually play this game. And even so, with everything the game is able to achieve, it's still only half a game. I shouldn't have to choose between a great story and great gameplay. I'll never be happy with a cooked burger and soggy buns, it just doesn't make any sense. Especially when there are so many satisfying and well-executed examples in almost every other Devil May Cry game. Almost. But you know what? I'd still rather play Devil May Cry 2 than have to fight Urizen again. At least DMC2 knows what it is. And I have to say again that it feels weird to be the only one saying it. Every reviewer I see can't help but fall over each other to praise this game. And believe me, I get it. We all wanted this game to happen, and the great hype beast comes for us all. But at some point, we gotta come out of the dark sooner or later, right? Am I saying that if you enjoy this game, you're wrong? No. But we can't sacrifice standards for hype, or let ourselves fall victim to our own excitement. There are an incredible number of things that make Devil May Cry 5 a fun game, but there aren't enough to make it a good one. Looking back at my previous videos, I'm surprised at how much I got right, even with Itsuno. Going into DMC5, I didn't trust him because of his praise of the DMC reboot, which I thought sucked a lot. And while that led me to psychoanalyze everything he did afterwards, I realize now that I was actually right, just about the wrong game. DMC5 wasn't his monument to compromise. His development role for the DMC reboot was. If Ruben Langdon is to be believed, in his recent controversial interview, that Itsuno almost quit Capcom over the DMC reboot, then I think it's about time Itsuno took a chance on making something he believed in, which is really all I ever wanted to see him do. Because after all this time, I do honestly believe now that Itsuno just wanted to make a fun game. Does it mean that I have to like what he's made? No, of course not. But in this case, I'm happy for him. And that Devil May Cry 5 can simply be a difference of opinion and priorities between what I wanted and what he wanted. I will admit though that it is super weird to see so much of the DMC reboot in DMC 5, but who am I to know what Itsuno is inspired by or not? Following the Langdon interview, I'm alright with whatever Itsuno wanted to make. As for Matt Walker, following this game has been a long, weird experience. Not all of our content will be this polarizing. I have a really sweet video I'm making about how Resident Evil 4 would make the perfect movie, but I'm also really lazy and take a really long time to make these videos. But until then, this is a review, and this game deserves a rating. For the first time, we'd like to introduce the legendary twin rating by which all manner of media shall be judged. Devil May Cry 5 receives 0.666 twins out of 2. Until next time, adios, Garbage Dante. Nice meeting you all. Nos vemos.